Welcome to my video about Jubilee inspired fragrances. So this is a dupe house basically that I've tried a couple of things from. This is a completely unsponsored video. I actually bought some things to try from them quite some time ago and I never really reviewed them. In fact, I don't think I even talked about them because I didn't think that they were amazing, but also because the bottles that the samples came in started to smell really fishy. So there was some kind of chemical reaction between the plastic and the perfume. And so I chucked a lot of them away when that happened. I kept hold of one in particular though, because I knew I'd want to talk about it at some time. But everyone in my comments told me about a new one that they had just released that I had to get my nose on. So again, I bought these all myself. They don't know that I'm doing this. This is not sponsored. This is just my honest opinion on these Jubilee inspired perfumes. So let's get going with the first one. Here we go, guys. This is the first dupe I've ever come across of Ricci Liberty Fizz. This is from Jubilee Fragrances. This is a UK company, I think. So I've had some stuff from Jubilee before. If I have time, I might actually add to this video and make this just generally about some of the dupes I've tried from Jubilee. So thank you to all the people who let me know about this. I actually had quite a few people comment on my videos because I've talked about Ricci so many times. Liberty Fizz was my signature scent. I think I probably wore it for about 15 years. So it's my true love. It's beautiful. I was quite excited at the thought of getting a dupe, but I also, this is the problem, you know, the same I say, you know, when I've tested Stella, their dupe of Stella. If you've worn it for that much, if it was your signature, you can really smell differences. And I have to say straight off, this Jubilee inspired version is nice, but it's not 100%. So I've got them on strips here. I have worn this as well. I've tested, obviously, you know, on skin, but it's so interesting comparing these two because I think smelling the dupe against the real thing is helping me to really pull out the things in this that I didn't really think about before. So notes that I didn't really think about before. So if we have a look now, we've got in the notes for this guy, this is the Liberty Fizz. So you can see I have still a tiny bit left of the clear bottles. This is when it was changed to Liberty Acidulé. And I went through many bottles of the frosted green glass as well before they changed it to the clear glass. So the notes here are top notes of tomato leaf, blackcurrant, orange, basil and mint. Mid notes of tomato, flower, freesia, magnolia and wisteria. Base notes tomato, raspberry and fig leaf. So I always think about this as being like a raspberry, tomato leaf, blackcurrant, freesia perfume. And I hadn't really considered too much about the fact there was basil and mint in it. There's definitely an obvious orange. But what I'm pulling out when I'm comparing it to Jubilee is, interestingly, the wisteria and the fig. And I feel like the Jubilee starts off very fizzy. And I do sometimes think that the original version of this, when it was just Labelle's, before it was Liberty Acidulé, before it was Liberty Fizz, I think maybe it was a little bit tartar. So maybe they're going for the original formulation, but it's got way more tomato leaf, or way more of a kind of vegetal, slightly bitter green tomato leaf. And obviously this is an old bottle, it might have lost some of its punch, but I feel like the tomato leaf is so smoothed out by the basil in the original that it never smelt vegetal. It had this gorgeous aromatic quality, this kind of herbaceous, interesting scent along with the fruity floral elements, but it never smelled like vegetables. I think the Jubilee has a little bit more of It's the kind of tomato leaf that you get in Miller Harris. So I think it's a little bit tartar, a little bit sharper, a little bit more fizzy, and a little bit more earthy and green, a little bit more bitter. So it's very fruity and green, and it kind of smells a bit like a greenhouse, but it doesn't have the same soft florals, the soft and slightly sweet florals coming through, or that rather interesting, now I smell it, almost creamy fig. I'm pretty sure that this has musk in it as well, so the original. The Jubilee is a little bit closer, I would say, to another perfume I have, which is Victoria Minier's Hedonist Cassis. Now that one, it has some crossovers with Liberty Fizz. That's why I ended up buying that one. But that one's kind of a bit drier, a bit more bitter, a bit sharper. It's almost like a cross between the two. But man, it's such a bummer, because obviously, because I have this and I can compare it, this is such a magnificent perfume. Nothing has ever really smelt truly like it. However, if I'm being real, this is the closest you're going to get to this, really. I have said before, I get elements of this from a number of different perfumes. I really love Boom Green Tea Cherry Blossom. Somehow that has a little bit of the feel of this. The Green Tea Pomegranate from Elizabeth Arden has a little bit of Liberty Fizz feel about it. Herbe from L'Occitane has a little bit of Liberty Fizz feel about it. I have a Brocard perfume called Blackcurrant and Tomato Leaf. This is actually not a million miles away from how that one smells. That one also has mint and tomato leaf and freesia. And it's a little bit more gardeny, a little bit more vegetably, a little less floral. And this is quite close to that. So I would almost say, if you've never smelt Liberty Fizz, this might be close enough. This, I think, will satisfy you if you miss this and you haven't found anything that's close to it. It doesn't smell the same. It's definitely, I'd say it's like 70% there. Yeah, when I compare it to the original. The original is truly a masterpiece. It blows my mind that they've never brought it back. I think it's insane. But this one, it's nice. I like it. I would wear it happily. It's more tangy, more fizzy. It's not got the subtle, smooth beauty that this has. And it's not got that wisteria. And it's not got the creamy fig. Yeah, it's basically just missing some of the magic that makes this so wearable, even though it is an unusual perfume with quite a lot of those kind of herbaceous, gardeny scents. But yeah, I mean, this is also, to be honest, quite a good alternative if you've been really wanting to try the Brocard Blackcurrant and Mint, because I feel like this might be a little bit closer to that than it is to this. And that really is the perfume that I wear that satisfies me, because I am hoarding what's left of this. Yeah, I would happily wear it. I think there is enough similarity that if you've never tried this, you've never managed to get the Brocard, this will be really fun to try out. If you sort of remember what this smells like, but not 100%, like your memory is like you liked it, but you didn't wear it every day, then you're probably going to love this version. Like the Jubilee version is going to be fine for you. If, like me, you wore this every day, you adore it and you love it, this will be fun to wear, but it's not really going to be, it's not going to feel exactly like this, because it doesn't smell exactly like it. But yeah, I think if they just had a less vegetal tomato leaf and they added just a tiny bit of that sort of creamy fig, and then just wisteria. Nowadays I know I love wisteria, but I never really realised. But I think there's something about that slightly fluffy purple floral, that slight lilac-y wisteria scent, that really does something to take this from smelling like a greenhouse into smelling like a whole garden, like a fruit-filled garden. So yeah, that is my take on the Labels de Ricci Liberty Fizz dupe from Jubilee. I think it's really good that they've made this because no one else has ever duped this perfume, which is insane. The amount of people who are writing to Nina Ricci begging them to bring this back. And I think it would be very popular nowadays, like I really do. So, you know, I'm really glad that they've made it. It's definitely only around 70% in my view, but that's still better than most of what we've been offered before. So I do recommend trying this if you want to know what this smells like or if you miss it. And again, I also recommend it as a replacement for the Brocard if you can't get the blackcurrant and mint from them, because it's definitely in that wheelhouse. I figured while I was testing out the Labels de Ricci dupe from Jubilee, I might as well try Stella as well, because I currently have this bottle of the original formulation of Stella. I've literally just sold this, so this will be posted to someone else tomorrow, so I'm not spraying any more out of it, but I have worn it. Obviously, I've owned this for quite a long time. So the Jubilee sample here, this is their version of Stella. So similar to Labels, I feel like there's enough of a similarity here to make you quite happy if you really can't get hold of the original Stella, but it's definitely not a one-for-one dupe. There are some differences here, particularly in the opening. I think it gets kind of more and more like Stella as it dries down. So if I spray out this Jubilee, I have tried this on my skin as well. It's a bit sharper, a bit drier, a little bit crisper, a little bit greener, I'd say, the Jubilee version. But I do think that they've got a very similar rose here. They've got a nice bit of mandarin. There's the peony and the rose together. If anything, I would say that it's possibly a slightly different amber to the amber that's in Stella. But I mean, I'm not a massive fan of amber personally. I'm also not a massive fan of rose perfumes, so you will need to take what I'm saying here with a grain of salt. But I think my nose is decent enough to at least help out with whether or not this is like worth buying. After a few minutes, I'm getting a citrusy note that definitely isn't as refined as the mandarin that's in Stella, but definitely the more that this dries down, the more it starts to turn into a perfume that is very similar to Stella. So I feel like maybe if you used to wear Stella every day, if it was your signature scent, you might be able to smell the differences here, and you might not love the differences. They might be just enough to irritate you. But I think that if you just kind of remember Stella, and you didn't wear it every day, I think this could make you happy. I think if you've never owned Stella, this is close enough to give you a really good idea of what the original Stella smells like. Yeah, it definitely improves as it dries down, but it's definitely not, it's not as smooth, and it's not as, it's really hard to describe because Stella has something about it that almost gives me a slightly gothic feel, and I'm not really sure what that is about it. And I feel like maybe this Jubilee is a little bit brighter. I wonder if there's a little bit more citrus maybe, but yeah, I mean, I think all in all, this is not a bad version of Stella. It's like, it's more of an inspired by, I'd say, than a really good dupe. But I do think that this is nice. I think it's definitely worth testing out because it's so affordable as well. I can't even remember how much this was, but it was I think this is a 3 ml sample, so you really just could wear this and test it out and give it many wears to see whether you liked it or not. So yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely worth trying. If you can't get Stella, if you've been after Stella, if you've run out, or if you just want to know basically what it smelled like, then I do think that Jubilee would be worth testing out. But it's definitely not 100% dupe. It doesn't smell exactly the same to my nose. Next up from the Jubilee dupe perfumes, or inspired by I should say, is one that I don't have a bottle of, so in fact, the next two I will just be comparing to what I remember about them. But these are things I haven't smelt since I was a teenager, so it'll be interesting to see how I'm feeling. So this one, as you can see, I've had this for quite a while as well. So this is from before Jubilee restyled to look like this. But so this is Tribe from Coty. This is what this is inspired by. This was the first perfume that I saw anyone talk about. I saw Ouch 110 talk about having the Jubilee version of Tribe. So this is one where the plastic's gone fishy again. I did email them to say, and they said they're aware of this and they're finding a different supplier. But unfortunately, I mean, I had their dupe of Poison and it went so fishy that I threw it away. So it might be good. I don't really know. It just started to smell like fish. Tribe. So this version, I can definitely get a sense for what I remember of Tribe. It's kind of fruity, floral. It almost has a slightly grapey, bubblegummy smell in here, which is interesting because looking at the notes, I'm not really sure where that's coming from, but I guess it's the mixture of fruits. But I remember Tribe being much sweeter than this is. I remember Tribe being quite syrupy, maybe possibly slightly sickly. It's one of those that I had and I kind of liked the smell of, but I didn't really like wearing. And if this is anything to go by, it's because it's very shampooy. So I can't say for sure whether the original Tribe was this shampooy, but I suspect it probably was. But this Jubilee dupe of Tribe is hella shampooy. So the notes in the original Tribe: top notes of raspberry, apple, green notes, peach, mandarin, orange, bergamot and lemon. Mid notes of cyclamen, rose, jasmine, lily of the valley. Base notes: musk, oak moss, cedar, amber and sandalwood. I mean, raspberry and apple and peach. I mean, I can smell a lot of this stuff in here. But yeah, this is not as sweet as, it's much kind of sharper. It's incredibly shampooy and it's more kind of white floral than I remember Tribe being, but that doesn't mean that this doesn't smell like Tribe. I definitely do get a feel of Tribe from this, but I feel like the sweetness would really need to be elevated for it to smell the way I remember Tribe. But I also noticed in the Tribe pages of Fragrantica that 5 people, 5 votes and no disagreement say that Levant from Ormond Jane also smells like Tribe. So if I ever manage to get a sample of Levant, I will let you know whether I think that smells like Tribe or whether it reminds me of the old Tribe. But I think, I don't know that they've quite captured it, but it might just be my memory playing tricks on me. Any of you guys who used to wear Tribe regularly, if you've got this dupe, can you tell me what you think down below? And let everyone else who's reading and watching this right now know what you think. But yeah, I mean, I can feel the Tribe profile here. It's just a little bit screechy, a little bit sharp, and very shampooy. So yeah, so that's Tribe. So this next one is another one that I don't have anything to compare it to. All I remember is, you know, what I've got from literally memory of being a child. So this is Body Shop Dewberry. This is the Jubilee dupe, or inspired by fragrance, I should say, of the Body Shop Dewberry. Always a mystery as to why they've never brought this back because it was so popular. I'm trying to ignore the fishy smell from the plastic, and I have not had these new ones for long. I sprayed them once and within 2 days this plastic, the compounds in it had reacted to the chemicals in the perfume and it turned fishy. So this happened very quickly. So I would say again, this has a slight feel of Dewberry, but it's still too sharp. It's too sharp, and this is again very shampooy. It might just be that loads of perfumes when I was young were crazy shampooy, but I don't know. I think that Dewberry was also a little bit sweeter and more berry forward than this. I feel like these are very screechy florals in this Dewberry dupe. But I can still get a little hint of whatever it is that is the magic behind Dewberry. Maybe it's because I think I had the Dewberry oil. I don't know if I ever had the Dewberry spray, so maybe the spray was more shampooey. I don't know. But the notes listed on Fragrantica anyway for Dewberry. Top notes of blackcurrant, grapefruit, red apple and pear. Mid notes of freesia, jasmine, rose, lily of the valley. Base notes peach, apricot, cedar and musk. So I think the general fruitiness here, they've nailed the kind of fruitiness that you get in Dewberry, and they have almost nailed the profile. But those mid notes are too sharp and too screechy, those florals. They're just, it's not quite there. Again, it's just not quite there to my nose. This is just a little bit too shampooey, a little bit too screechy. I think not to the extent that Tribe feels like it wasn't quite sweet enough, but I think Dewberry, the more it dries down, the more you get those fruits, the more it is more like Dewberry. But yeah, definitely a little tiny bit screechy, not quite sweet enough. But yeah, I mean, if you love Dewberry, this might be worth trying out in the same way like any of these. If you loved these old perfumes, these might be worth trying out just to see how you feel about them. But yeah, it's again, I'd say maybe 80% there with this one, maybe 70% there with Tribe. So yeah, not terrible, but not they haven't quite nailed it, but it's not bad. So this next one, I didn't get this because this is a perfume that's discontinued. I got this one because it is a perfume that is ridiculously expensive. So I wanted to see what a dupe or an inspired by version of this was going to smell like. This is the Jubilee Scents version of Jersey from Chanel. I think this is spelt on their website with an A, Jersay. Because I think Chanel are very hyper vigilant about people making dupes of their perfumes and anyone using their name. I mean, you can see on Fragrantica, they made Fragrantica take off the Chanel font, and they've made them put up a disclaimer about trademarks. And it is actually, to be honest, slightly embarrassing to me that Chanel are being this ridiculous when, like, especially Fragrantica and places like that are just literally talking about their perfumes. They're not selling them. But yeah, I mean, I understand though Chanel would be a bit funny about dupes, but maybe they shouldn't make such ridiculously expensive perfumes or change perfumes that weren't expensive to be extremely expensive, which is something that they've been doing with their exclusives range. So I wanted to smell Jersey, their version of, because it's a sort of vanillic, lavender, green, kind of running through a field kind of scent to me. I quite like the original. But I've kind of not really allowed myself to do too much testing of it because I don't really want to fall in love with it, if you see what I mean. I don't want to fall in love with something that's so expensive I can't afford to wear it. But I wanted to try this one. So the notes in Jersey, the original, are lavender, white musk, vanilla, tonka bean, wildflower, grass, jasmine and rose. So this version here from Jubilee, it is kind of interesting. I don't think they've nailed this, and I think part of that is that they have not quite got the Chanel DNA right. And I do think that's a bit tricky. Chanel do have a very specific DNA. Tons of their exclusive perfumes all have like this underlying kind of scent in them. And let's be real, they all have an underlying scent that has just like that tiny hint of Chanel No. 5. There is just that through line through most of their perfumes. But Jersey, the original, I think is quite green. It's quite aromatic. It's got this apothecary kind of smell to it. And I think the grass is relatively strong. I don't think the vanilla's super sweet or strong. I think it's quite subtle, quite soft. And it is a kind of soft wear it to bed kind of scent to me. So the inspired version here, I find kind of tangier, sweeter Yeah, definitely sweeter. I think the lavender is very strong here. The grass isn't as strong. Um, so it doesn't quite retain the greenness that I remember from Jersey. But what I find really interesting about this one is, like, when I smelt Jersey, I know people had compared it to American Cream from Lush. And I tested out Jersey and I was like, I love American Cream from Lush. I wasn't quite getting that from Jersey, the original, but I am getting American Cream from this dupe here. This really smells like a kind of less powdery, less thick version of Lush's American Cream. So I obviously really like it because this maybe is somewhere between Jersey and American Cream, like somewhere sitting in between, edging its way towards being what I think American Cream smells like, which is lavender, sage, iris, rose, all kind of crystallized and then put on top of a white fondant icing. Like, that's what American Cream smells like to me. If you just take the florals down maybe a little bit in that and you make it less powdery and make it just maybe a tiny bit more sheer, then you're getting closer to what the Jersey from Jubilee scent smells like. But I think you need to take an even bigger further step back from American Cream, add in more grass, add in more of a kind of, I don't want to say hay, but there is something a little bit more earthy and kind of hay, meadowy, kind of, I don't know, there's something more like Provence, you know, it smells a little bit more like Provence. I don't know how else to explain it. It does smell a little bit like you're running through a meadow that isn't, you know, just sweet florals or whatever. It's got this kind of interesting feel to Jersey that this is missing. So I really like it though. I wore this the other day and I was very happily wearing it, but it did kind of feel like this is just a more like warm weather appropriate version of American Cream. Personally, American Cream is just a little bit too thick and sweet for me in hotter weather, so I don't really wear American Cream when it's like late spring, early summer. But I think I could probably wear this one. I do think this is really pretty. So is it a great dupe of Jersey? I don't think it's amazing. I think, again, maybe 70%. I mean, it would be interesting. I probably need to go and have another test of Jersey so I can do so I can like compare this again. But yeah, at the moment I'm feeling like this is a little bit too sweet to really truly smell like actual Jersey, but it is very nice. I really like it. So there you have it, my fine friends. I hope that you found this useful in some way. Let me know if you've tried any of these. Let me know if you like the Jubilee dupes, if they do anything particularly well. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. All right, bye guys.